They landed without resistance. Tambra was quiet, too quiet. Rolling hills stretched out in every direction, scattered with flocks of native grazers and the occasional small cottage nestled into the rocks. The Krex Dominion scout ships hovered above the terrain, scanning for threat. There were none. No plasma batteries, no bunkers, not even a standing militia. The world had already given up, it seemed. A single figure moved among the hills, guiding a flock with a crooked staff, wrapped in worn cloth, head bowed under a tattered hood. The drones tagged him. Local human, non-combatant, likely a shepherd. They dismissed him as harmless. Command logs noted the shepherd's presence with passing interest, probably one of the planet's last holdouts, too stubborn or too simple to evacuate when the surrender notice was broadcast. Some of the Krex patrol units made jokes, wondering if the shepherd even knew the war was over, if he still thought the hills were his to roam. 2 days passed. Then a recon trooper vanished during routine sweep duty along Ridge Echo. Standard search protocols activated. His signal was strong one moment, then gone the next, cut off mid-transmission. No explosion. No energy signature. Just silence. His squad thought he fell or wandered off. Another was sent to investigate. He didn't return either. Command dispatched a 3-unit patrol with a drone for air support. The drone's footage, viewed later, showed nothing out of the ordinary, until frame-by-frame analysis caught a shimmer of light on a ridge 3 clicks west. A glint. Then static. 3 more units deployed. 2 hours later, all contact ceased. At first, Krex leadership assumed it was local wildlife or terrain hazard. Tambra was known for unstable rock formations and magnetic interference field, but the exactness of the losses unnerved the field commander. The dead never screamed. There was no chaos, no struggle, just a clean break, as if each soldier had simply been erased. A field tech noted something odd. Each corpse recovered had a single entry wound. Same location. Right orbital socket. No exit wound. The bullets, if that's what they were, had fragmented inside. The med drones hadn't seen anything like it. Organic-tuned weaponry wasn't standard human tech. Back at the base, speculation turned into superstition. Talk spread of an eye-taker. Someone who watched, waited, and when the moment came, struck without sound, without warning. They returned to the scan footage, zooming, slowing, enhancing. The same glint. Always from a different ridge. Always at dawn or dusk. Always followed by silence. The shepherd was never directly in the footage, but his flock was. Each time. Near the area. Grazing without concern. The same distinctive staff. Same dark figure in the distance, barely noticeable, until you noticed it every time. He wasn't hiding. He was just ignored. They tried heat scans, but the region's geothermal pockets masked thermal signatures. One officer suggested capturing the shepherd for questioning. Another laughed, until reminded that 6 highly trained soldiers were already dead. Laughter stopped. Meanwhile, the figure moved slowly across the terrain. Same routine. Rise before first light. Tend to the flock. Watch the valley. Sit. Wait. The rifle was older tech. Human make. Matte black, long barrel, chambered for kinetic slugs. Modified, yes, but fundamentally analog. No energy trails. No digital firing system. No sound signature. Untraceable in the Dominion systems. He'd once been called Marcus Vale. Earthborn. Veteran of the 8th Colonial Guard. Commendations in 7 theaters. Known for a shot that dropped a scout drone at 2.1 kilometers in wind shear. Discharged after the collapse of the Terran High Council. He vanished from records. Now he sat alone among the rocks, adjusting for wind with a whetted thumb and instinct. He didn't pray. He didn't curse. He waited. The rifle was an extension of thought. Breathing steady. Hands gloved and sure. His eye behind the scope, watching for shapes that didn't belong. Movement too smooth. Heat glows at twilight. He didn't hate the Krex. Hatred clouded aim. But he hadn't forgotten either. He remembered the children at Bastion 12. He remembered the orbital strike that wiped out his evacuation convoy. He remembered the silence that followed. No orders. No reinforcements. No home. And now the Krex walked his hills. He didn't need permission. He didn't need command. One man. One ridge. One trigger. Every bullet he loaded had a name. Not of the enemy, but of those the enemy had taken. Names etched in memory, carved into habit. Each shot was a ledger balance. They'd come again, thinking him a myth, a fluke, a malfunction. He would be waiting. The next patrol came with scanners active and weapons drawn. They advanced in a wide spread, helmets synced to real-time motion data, tracking every gust of wind, every drifting piece of dust. 6 of them, moving in staggered formation, silent through the hills. They knew something was out here. Something precise. Something deadly. They had been briefed. Eyes were the target. Keep visors down. Keep heads moving. Keep erratic. The squad leader gave hand signals, and they split into 3 pairs, sweeping parallel ridgelines. The drone above tracked body heat and movement, feeding data to each unit. The ground was dry. No footprints. No debris. No scent of combustion. 6 minutes in, the man at point dropped. No sound. His visor cracked inward, optic destroyed. The others froze. The shot hadn't been heard. There was no muzzle flash, no ricochet, no indication of where it had come from. They pulled back, forming a triangular defense pattern, visors scanning for thermal signatures. Another shot. The second man dropped with a jerk, landing face first. Shot directly through the eye. The squad leader called for evasive retreat. They scattered, ducking into natural cover, trying to determine the line of fire. But the sniper didn't fire wildly. He didn't chase. He waited. Measured. Chose. 30 seconds later, the drone was hit. A single slug cracked through its forward sensor, disabling optics and destabilizing its hover pattern. It crashed into the rocks, sparking. Now they were blind. One of the remaining soldiers panicked and sprinted for the lower valley. He made it 20 meters before his helmet caved inward from a high-velocity round. The impact flipped him over and dropped him limp. The last 2 survivors held still, backs against stone. They didn't speak. They didn't breathe loud. They knew he was out there, somewhere beyond visible range. Waiting for the moment one of them peeked. After 17 minutes of silence, the remaining soldier on the east ridge raised his scope slowly, inch by inch. The moment it cleared the rock, it shattered. The round hit just below the lens, ricocheted into his eye socket, and dropped him sideways. The last soldier ran. He made it to the comm relay and initiated an emergency beacon. Command got his signal, tracked him briefly, then lost it mid-sentence. When the recovery team arrived 3 hours later, they found him slumped behind the relay, shot through the eye. The autopsy team confirmed the pattern. Entry wound consistent with high-caliber kinetic slug, delivered from a distance greater than 1,000 meters. No secondary damage. No collateral trauma. All kill shots. All clean. 5 dead, 1 missing. The brass stopped calling him the Shepherd. Command moved from denial to panic. Reports were reclassified. Troop movements were altered. New patrols were ordered to avoid high ground and only operate during full daylight hours. Specialists argued it was an AI-controlled defense system. Others suggested it was a ghost from human mythology, fabricated resistance morale. None of them considered that it was just a man. He had relocated 2 ridgelines away during the night, burying spent casings under shale. He moved slow, never in straight lines, never along predictable paths. His elevation changed with the sun's angle. He never fired more than once from the same position. He had studied their movement patterns, memorized their rotation schedules. He knew their response time, the altitude of their drones, the delay between a lost signal and a dispatched unit. He read their war like a book. Each bullet was hand-checked. No irregularities. No wasted mass. Each scope adjustment was logged in his mind. He calculated wind vectors by watching grass blades, gauged distance through muscle memory. He made no sound. He left no scent. They couldn't find him because they didn't know what to look for. They expected something large. Something glowing. Something alien. But he wasn't. He was the last remaining proof that humans didn't need to be many to be deadly. That one was enough, if the one knew how to wait. He never taunted. Never left messages. Never marked his kills. There was no vanity in it. Just a method. A rhythm. A ledger of quiet, surgical justice. He didn't see the Kreks as soldiers. He saw them as variables. Lines in a calculation. And the answer was always the same. Drop them, one by one, before they learned anything at all. The Dominion raised bounty markers. Increased patrols. Shifted tactics. But with every adjustment, another squad vanished. No body cams survived. No logs completed. Their greatest mistake wasn't underestimating him. It was assuming he was alone. He wasn't. The terrain was with him. The silence was with him. And so was time. They escalated. The deaths were no longer dismissed as anomalies. 16 confirmed kills, all with the same precision, all within a defined radius. This was no malfunction. This was calculated elimination. Command authorized a full sweep of the hills with aerial support, motion beacons, thermal netting, and sensor spike. 4 squads were deployed, 32 soldiers, each outfitted with adaptive armor and real-time location sync. The order was direct: locate the shooter, terminate on sight. Marcus had already mapped their most likely drop zones. The moment their boots touched the ground, he was watching. He didn't move immediately. He observed first. Timing was everything. The squads advanced in staggered waves, each unit covering the other, overlapping angles. The terrain came alive with quiet hums of surveillance. He waited until the third wave cleared a plateau before acting. One man dropped, bullet through visor, before the others registered the sound. 2 more tried to locate the shot's origin, only for one to be flung backward, his helmet cord. The others retreated to cover. They didn't realize he'd changed position mid-shot, the first kill from a western ridge, the second from a rocky fold near the basin. Panic set in faster this time. Their coordination slipped. He counted it, breath by breath, and struck when confusion peaked. He didn't aim at leaders first. He targeted comms operators, medics, technicians. Infrastructure crumbled faster than rank. One squad retreated downhill toward extraction. He ignored them. He wasn't here to chase. They regrouped overnight, dropping sonic mines and low-atmos scanner drones. Still, he moved without trace. He crossed wet stone barefoot, left false trail marks, used heat-lace decoys stitched from old uniform fragments and animal blood. One decoy took 2 shots before they realized it wasn't breathing. The sniper wasn't simply skilled. He was surgical. They tried to call in gunships, high-altitude strafing runs. But Marcus had already spiked the signal towers with jammers disguised as fence posts weeks prior. Communications faltered. Units were blind, isolated, and afraid. He recorded their voices. Not out of vanity, but for pattern analysis. Fear revealed more than tactic. The moment their voices cracked, they exposed intent, movement, desperation. He used it all. One squad set a trap. Motion beacon linked to an explosive charge. He watched from 300 meters as a sheep triggered it, the explosion flaring into the dusk. By the time they processed the mistake, 2 more were dead. Marcus didn't celebrate. Every kill was inventory control. The terrain wasn't just background, it was part of the strategy. Wind masked movement. Echoes distorted direction. Shifting shadows turned his rifle into a ghost. He didn't sleep in the same place twice. He didn't rest more than 90 minutes at a time. He wasn't living. He was maintaining function. Then came the Huntmasters, elite Kreks tacticians bred for terrain warfare, each with enhanced vision, layered sensor arrays, and personal shields. 5 of them landed under cover of night, cloaked and silent. They were better. Smarter. They moved with patience. They knew they weren't hunting just a man, they were hunting legacy. Marcus didn't engage. He observed. 3 hours of silent tracking revealed their rhythm. Their communication was nonverbal, synced through pulse relay. He triangulated their movement, identified the slowest responder, and waited. One fell without sound. Clean shot to the central processor embedded beneath the skull. The others didn't stop. No hesitation. But the tempo was off now. Marcus adjusted. A second dropped after missing a step. The cloak failed mid-fall. The remaining 3 fanned wide. He didn't take the third shot. Instead, he set off a timed flash mine he'd embedded a week earlier. The detonation wasn't meant to kill, just blind. One stumbled. Marcus fired through a tree trunk, the round shredding bark and bone in the same motion. 2 remained. They started retreating, calling for evac. Marcus followed but didn't shoot. Let them live. Let the Dominion know their best weren't enough. The message was clearer than any broadcast. He left nothing behind. No footprints. No casings. No blood. Later, a message was found carved into the rock wall above Ridge Echo in deep-cut block text. Each bullet speaks. Each one will be heard. He didn't need followers or command. He was proof that resolve didn't scale with numbers. To them, it had started as containment. It had become survival. For Marcus, it had always been math. And the equation was still unfinished. Troops began refusing the Ridge assignment. No amount of bonus rations or combat pay could convince them. Some claimed they'd seen the ghost, a shadow with eyes that glinted just before the shot. Others said it was a machine, not a man, that it never missed because it wasn't capable of error. A few simply stopped speaking altogether after losing their entire unit. Dominion morale, once ironclad, started to fracture. Kreck's command sent propaganda broadcasts across the region, attempting to frame the sniper as a terrorist, an aberration of a broken species. But the broadcasts were ignored. The soldiers on the ground weren't fighting a cause anymore, they were surviving something they didn't understand. Fear took root where strategy once stood. The sniper became legend. They called him Eye Taker, Whisper Mark, the Shepherd of Death. His identity didn't matter, only the result. One bullet, one body, always clean, always final. Kreck's scouts avoided high ground entirely. Officers kept their visors sealed and their heads low, never lingering too long in exposed terrain. Each patrol felt like a countdown. Marcus heard every rumor, every failed attempt to frame him as a myth. He let them build. Fear was a tool, same as his rifle. He never answered back. He didn't need to. His silence was louder than any threat. The Dominion brought in genetically engineered hounds, cyber beasts with triple nostrils, vibration sensitivity, and heat triangulation. They were bred to hunt without hesitation, machines wrapped in flesh, immune to fear. They deployed 5 along the outer perimeter of the ridges, programmed to detect irregular movement patterns and track exhalation shift. Marcus knew they were coming before they landed. He adjusted, rerouted his approach, masked his breath with chemical blockers derived from local flora, moved slower than their scanners could register. One fell into a sinkhole he'd prepared months prior. 2 were eliminated with bait trails of animal scent soaked in crude accelerant. He didn't shoot them. He let terrain do the work. The last 2 circled for days, until one triggered a sound loop Marcus had installed inside a rock crevice. It howled, charging toward the noise, and detonated the pressure trap beneath it. The final hound returned to its handlers, confused, its primary memory core corrupted from misdirection overload. Dominion Command reviewed the data and found nothing useful. No face, no sound, no trace. Just a shadow, a pattern, a myth taking shape in numbers. Somewhere between those failures, a single Krex survived an ambush. The sniper had let him crawl away, broken but breathing. The trooper's account spread fast. The human had looked at him through the scope, made eye contact, and then moved on. That mercy unnerved them more than the kills. It meant choice. It meant control. And it meant they were being studied. Command attempted diplomacy in secret. They dropped a translator drone with a message: "Surrender and your survival will be honored." The drone exploded mid-descent. No reply followed. The Dominion shifted strategy. No longer trying to kill him, they tried to starve him. They burned the nearby fields, irradiated water sources, grounded local livestock. But Marcus had planned for that. He'd buried rations deep, purified runoff water through old filtration cloth, and fed off long-cured meat prepared during the first week of their invasion. They didn't understand he didn't need comfort. He didn't operate on their timeline. He didn't rest like they did. He didn't require orders. As weeks passed, Command noticed a strange trend. Dominion patrols had quietly rerouted entirely around the ridge zones. Unspoken, unofficial, it became accepted wisdom: go near those hills and you disappear. Command could issue orders, but enforcement meant casualties. Silence became their compliance. And then something changed. A human signal pinged across the shortwave band. A flare rose in the northern canyon, old Earth military grade, standard rescue code embedded in the light. Marcus watched it bloom against the dusk and didn't move at first. He waited, calculating probabilities, confirming its origin. It repeated 3 times, then stopped. 3 days later, he found them. Survivors. 5 humans, thin, scarred, hiding in the lower ravines. They had no weapons, no hope. Just the flare. They hadn't known if anyone would even see it. But he had. And he came. He didn't speak much. He handed one of them purified water, gave another a ration pack. He passed a battered transceiver to the oldest. They asked who he was. He didn't answer. One of them whispered a name: Marcus Vale. He didn't deny it. They stared like they'd found a myth made flesh. To them, he wasn't a sniper. He was proof someone still fought back. The Dominion sent a final asset. No squads. No scouts. No beasts. Just one ship, matte black, carrier class, atmospheric capable. On board was High Marshal Kareth, commander of the Tanbra Occupation Front. He didn't bring backup. He didn't need it. Or so he believed. His arrival wasn't a show of force. It was a statement. Enough of the game. One man could not dictate the movements of an empire. The Marshal set up camp at the Central Valley, where visibility stretched for kilometers. He deployed sentries with panoramic sensor domes, kinetic shielding, and acoustic dampeners. He sat exposed, daring the sniper to try. For 2 days, nothing happened. Kareth reviewed every detail of the past assault. Pattern recognition. Trajectory mapping. He concluded the shooter operated within a 3-kilometer circle. That narrowed the possibilities. He issued a broadcast. No threats. Just an offer: face me or fade. The voice looped through every channel, civilian and military. A challenge, not in arrogance but calculation. The Marshal had faced resistance leaders, insurgents, guerrilla tacticians. He believed all men eventually sought validation. He didn't know Marcus. Marcus didn't operate on pride. He didn't move for messages or titles. He waited for alignment, not symbolic but physical. A clear shot. The Marshal had miscalculated one thing: Marcus didn't need proximity. He needed precision. At dawn, conditions aligned. Wind low. No thermal distortion. Target sitting still. Distance, 2.4 kilometers. Extreme, but not impossible. Marcus adjusted for curvature, drop, pressure. One chance. The bullet traveled 3.1 seconds. It struck just below the Marshal's left eye, shattered the frontal bone, and collapsed the kinetic field a millisecond after impact. The body didn't fall. It slumped, slowly, as if realizing its own mortality too late. The broadcast stopped mid-loop. Soldiers watching from base stations went silent. No alarms, no retaliation. Just stillness. Marcus remained in place. He didn't celebrate. He didn't need confirmation. The shot was final. The Dominion pulled back within the hour. Dropships retrieved remaining asset. No counterstrikes followed. No revenge orders. The mission had collapsed, not from firepower, but from belief. The fear had become systemic. The idea that no position was safe, no rank above consequence, had finally settled in. Tambra was left alone. The human survivors Marcus had found grew in number. Signal beacons went out. From caves, from old bunkers, from hiding places buried beneath wreckage, more appeared. Dozens. Then hundreds. Tired, cautious, but alive. They asked who had done it, who had held the line. Word spread faster than truth could catch it. Some called him a ghost. Others, vengeance. Marcus walked among them in silence. He offered no speeches, no instructions. He wasn't there to lead. He handed out coordinates to safe zones, marked supplies buried across the hills. Children stared at him like a myth. Adults whispered thanks he never acknowledged. Eventually, he walked alone again, back toward the ridge where it had started. He carried nothing. No rifle. No gear. Just the jacket he'd worn since the beginning, scarred and faded. He left the weapon buried beneath a marked stone. Unloaded. Not discarded, preserved. At the edge of the ridge, he stopped. The valley was empty now. Quiet. No movement. No patrols. No scanners. Just wind and dust. He'd done what needed doing. Not because he sought redemption or recognition, but because no one else had. He'd outlasted machines, beasts, commanders. But more than that, he had made them afraid, not of humans as soldiers, but of humans as constants. He turned and began walking down, no longer needing the high ground. No longer hunted, no longer hiding. He passed remnants of old patrols, scorched earth, shattered tech. None of it mattered now. He had never fought for revenge. He had simply remembered what they forgot. That humans don't need to be many to be unstoppable. Not when one is enough. Later, long after the Dominion's grip across nearby systems loosened, someone compiled the footage. Grainy satellite captures, audio logs, distorted radio signals. They gave it a name. The Eye-Taker Campaign. In one of the final clips, a Dominion officer watches a heat scan replay. A single figure lies prone on a ridge, barely visible through haze, rifle extended. The officer speaks. They said humans were primitive. Fragile. Another voice replies, quiet and final. They lied.